YNAB is one of the top budgeting apps out there, but with so many different budgeting tools to choose from, it can be hard to figure out which one's the best for you. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to break down what YNAB offers and if it's worth the price. I'm Bradford with the Penny Pincher Guide to Personal Finance. First, make sure you hit that like button so we know to make more videos like it. YNAB stands for You Need a Budget. It was founded back in 2004 by a husband and wife trying to figure out a better way to get their budget under control, and what originally started out as a sophisticated spreadsheet rolled into the web-based software and eventually the app we know today, which was launched in 2015. Since then, it has consistently been ranked as one of the top budgeting apps, competing with the likes of Mint and Everydollar. What really sets YNAB apart from its competition is its philosophy when it comes to budgeting. Now, they have 4 rules when it comes to how your budget should be set up. Rule 1 is that every dollar has a job. Now, that's just zero-based budgeting, which is pretty common throughout the budgeting space. Rule 2 is to embrace your true expenses. That's going to be, you know what your approximate electric bill is going to be each month, but you adapt your budget every single month to match what your actual expenses are. Rule 3 is to roll with the punches. No one plans on driving down the road and popping a tire and having to buy a new one, but by budgeting, you set aside money for that exact scenario, so that way it's not a surprise and throws your entire budget off. Now, Rule 4 is what really sets YNAB apart, and it's called age your money. What does that even mean? The age of your money is how long you possess that dollar from the point of when you receive it from a paycheck to where you spend it on any given expense. Say you get your paycheck on the 1st and you don't actually spend that dollar till the 10th, that means your dollar is 10 days old. Now, the whole goal behind YNAB is that eventually all of your money has an age of at least 30 days. Why? The whole goal behind that is that any expenses you have for this month are being paid for with last month's money. So that way you have at least a 30-day buffer that is always built into your budget. So no matter what kind of ups and downs you have, there's not going to be any bumps in the road that throw your budget off kilter. So with a basic idea of what YNAB is all about, let's jump into the app and see what it has to offer. So jumping into the YNAB app itself, the default view is always going to be the current month's budget. Breaks everything down between your bills, your frequent expenditures, non-monthly goals, quality of life. The upper right-hand corner, you always have the option to adjust your budget to make it specific for that given month. Something that I really like is how it breaks everything down between yellow, catches your eye, something you need to be aware of. Green is going to be some fund because they use the envelope method, but digitally to show something that's been completely funded. Down under here underneath groceries, if it already has hash marks, it shows how much money out of that digital envelope have you already spent. I think it's really easy jumping into the accounts here. Is how do you actually add accounts? Since YNAB uses Plaid, it makes it really simple to link your accounts to some of the most common banking accounts out there, whether it's Bank of America, USAA, if you're military, Navy Federal, any one of the big banks, most of them are supported. One thing that I got was kind of shocking was I did try to link my Citi card for my credit cards, and Citi is not supported with the exception of their Citi Business. So make sure if you are considering YNAB, use the free trial period of 34 days and then actually assess, are the accounts that you use linked? Even if they're not, or if you prefer to not use linked accounts, you can always come in here underneath the add unlinked accounts, scroll up and down, find what type of account you're trying to add. It's very simple to just update it and link it so that way you can actually pay attention to where that money is coming from in your budget. Another thing that I really like about this is that it's super easy to actually add transactions. So let's say we're coming in here, I wanted to spend $50 at the grocery store. I'll select the payee. So let's say we went to Lowe's Groceries. It's going to automatically select the category if you've already set up the payee beforehand. Where's that money coming from? It's coming out of a checking account. What's the date it's coming out of? And then we'll save that transaction. We'll see in the groceries are going to roll back. They're going to roll back and show how much money I've actually pulled out of my digital envelope. You also have the ability to look at reports here. I haven't used it long enough, but it'll basically show your age of money. So if you had a paycheck deposited on the 1st of the month and then you ended up not using that until the 30th of the month, that means that age of that money is going to be 30 days. It also shows your net worth, just a very simple calculation of your assets minus your debts. And if anything is difficult, which honestly I do think that YNAB has a relatively steep learning curve compared to just using pen and paper, Excel spreadsheet, or some of the other budgeting apps out there, because you're just trying to be as proactive as possible, definitely come in here, go underneath the creating your YNAB budget on the first day of the app. It's about 30 minutes long. I know that might seem like it's a bit long at first, but that's about the time that I would dedicate to making a new budget spreadsheet or just taking the time to start a budget from the beginning. And it does do a really good job of walking you through A to Z. That initial video doesn't cut it. They have a bunch of other videos in here on their YouTube channel that you can use. They have a bunch of different blog posts that you can reference, podcasts if that's more your style, as well as a support thing. You can click on here. First, it's going to show you, all right, what are the most frequently asked questions. But if you do want to actually interact with a real person, you can send a message on here and they'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. So that about wraps up what you can expect to see. Has a lot of good support built within the app itself. Once you get started and you've taken the initial pain of everything getting set up with that initial learning curve, it does seem like YNAB is going to be really good for the long term and being more proactive with your money. So honestly, I think the app looks really good, and after you can go past that initial learning curve, it's really intuitive and it'll really help you stay on top of your budget by being proactive with your money. Now, if using an app on your phone is your preferred way of budgeting, you have all the same tools available to you on your computer through their website. Now let's talk about pricing. One thing that sets YNAB apart from most of its competitors is that there is no free version of their software. While they do have a 34-day free trial that anybody can use to sign up and try out their app, past that, if you want to continue using YNAB, there is no free option and you have to pay to play. Now their monthly breakdown is you can either choose to pay month to month of $14.99 a month, or you can do the annual fee, which saves you approximately $80 and is $98.99 per year. One thing that I do want to note that I learned when I was using the free trial is on the website, it does advertise that you don't need a credit card to sign up and use the free trial. You can just sign up, and at the end of the 34 days, if you don't want to continue, nothing happens because they don't have your credit card information. Now that's only true if you sign up through the website, which is what I recommend you do. If you sign up through the App Store, because YNAB is a subscription service, the App Store will require you to input your credit card information. So if at the end of the 34 days, you've forgotten to cancel the subscription, you will be charged either the month to month or the annual fee, whichever one you picked at the beginning. One last element I do want to touch on with the billing is they really want to get students into budgeting as early as possible. So they do offer 12 months of free YNAB for any student that can show either their student ID or transcript that shows that they are currently enrolled in college. And that is in addition to the 34-day free trial that is open to everyone. Let's talk about what are the pros and the cons of YNAB. I think the biggest pro going for it is that it changes your way that you think about budgeting and forces you to be proactive with your money, telling it where it's going to go. Instead of a lot of other budgeting tools, like my own, including the spreadsheet that I use, it's really just a way of tracking where your money went. And while that's really helpful, and if you can stay on top of it, it does the same thing. By being proactive with the YNAB style of budgeting, it really forces you to stay on top. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. A couple other pros that I think YNAB really has going for it is it does have a ton of support, whether it's in videos, blogs, podcasts, or actually talking to a person with their messaging system. There's a lot of things to help you get set up and get over that initial learning curve to get on and using YNAB successfully. And the last thing I want to mention on the pro category is that the app itself is very customizable. You can have as many or as few categories as you want. It's super easy to link using the Plaid integration with various banking accounts. And if you don't want to use that, it's super easy at the same time to also manually input everything from your checking account to any sort of transactions that you have. Now, let's talk about the cons. What does YNAB have going against it? I think the first thing going against it is that there is no free version of the software. Yes, you have that approximate month of initial free trial, but past then, there's no way to continue, at least on a free basis. You have to pay for it. And the second thing that has going against it is because it does have that very different philosophy when it comes to budgeting, is that it does have a much steeper initial learning curve than various other budgeting apps. It does try to compensate for that by having a lot of support features. And if YNAB is something you want to use, that is pretty easy to get past, but at least the initial stage of using YNAB, it can be relatively overwhelming with how you actually start integrating the budget into your daily life. And two other cons that it has going for it is that it doesn't have any sort of bill notifications when your utilities or whatever bills you have in the app come up. You just need to be paying attention to what the dates are on the calendar. And the other thing that I want to mention is that it doesn't have an option to be able to track your investment growth, which some of the other budgeting apps out there and other finance apps do have the ability to do. So what's the verdict? Is YNAB worth it or not? Now, if you already have a good budgeting system set up, whatever that is for you, and it's working, it's probably not worth switching. Stick with what works because that is going to be the best tool for you. But if you've never budgeted before or your current system just doesn't quite work and you want to try something new, then YNAB can very easily be a great way to not only save money, even though you're paying for a feature, because it is forcing you to be proactive and eventually get that age of your money up towards the goal of at least 30 days. It's more likely than not that you're actually going to save more money by being on top of your budget than if you don't have a budget at all and you're not paying for YNAB. Unfortunately, I can't tell you specifically you should or you should not get YNAB. I think it's a great app, and I do think after that initial hurdle, it is a really good thing to use, but you're gonna have to decide whether or not it is a good fit for your personal finance situation. Now, if you've never had a budget at all, please go over and check out our walkthrough on how to set up a budget from start to finish, so that way you can start getting control of your money and building your financial future. I wanna thank you for joining me today, and until next time, just remember to pinch a little.